And I mean, we had Ice-T, Ice-T body count.
Right, when Cop Killer.
When Cop Killer came out.
We did.
Dude, listen, Oklahoma County Sheriff, I can't remember
I'm so
his name.
jealous, man, because I love body count.
Right in the car
love
with Brad,
body count.
waking up, thinking, man, these next 2 days are going to be the days of our lives.
Bro.
We got Ice-T.
You
And
guys talk about it.
The first night's Canes, and we roll in there, and it's like, you got to get through 3 police blockades to get to the venue. And they're like, and you get to the venue, who's the promoters today? They look at me and him, and we go, we are. And they're like, well, we just brought you some added security.
Yep.
And then the next day it got worse. They wanted
and
to
listen,
get,
and I'm gonna, and if you want to kind of know what the feeling was like, go watch the movie Colors.
Yeah. That's 100% what the climate was like.
You could feel
That is,
the
I
tension.
swear to you,
Between-
that
feel it.
was the climate at the time
Yeah.
when these guys rolled in. They even were dressed fucking like that, man. Were they not? You remember somebody ended up with a Syndicate
Yeah,
Silky.
they wanted it
and
back.
they wanted that motherfucker
Yeah.
back.
Yeah,
you
they
know what
did.
I mean? And
they were calling me, hey, dude,
I just hope
any line on that goat? In that coat? Any line on that coat, dude?
I just hope you guys understand how historic and how legendary some of these shows were.
Well, I
at
promise
Rock
you, at the
City.
time, we had no idea.
no,
idea.
were
listen.
just trying to
At
make
the
it.
time, seriously.
We knew Pauly Shore was X amount big. We knew that the Ice-T thing was.
But
the body
the-
count record was so fucking fresh. I don't really he said. I'm not sure we knew exactly what the
shows were
I
getting
don't think we
canceled.
would have bought it.
No,
if
no.
we would have known, because when he says there was around the Canes, it was like a barricade of cop cars all the way around it. You could not get in. We had to prove that we were the promoters. They let us in, and then
They did to everybody. So think about this.
And then, you
if
have
you're
the next
thinking about
night,
buying,
you
if
know.
you're thinking
Oh, the
about
next
buying
night
a
after
ticket,
that night, I
which
was like,
Walk
holy
Up was
fucking
that
shit.
way back then.
Yeah.
Walk Up was way good. If you had that going through 3, you may not make it past 2, not go to the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And what was that? That was February of '92, I believe.
And then Oklahoma
Yeah.
City.
I mean,
you know,
you got a better memory on
I
that.
think
It
so.
was
It was
cold.
92. It was
cold.
February.
That
Yeah.
would make perfect sense because everybody was in jackets.
We were just fresh from taking over the lasers thing, and I think there was still.
That's
one
right.
of our
Still
first
that-
shows.
That's right.
That
You're right.
bed was still
You're
in the
right.
back office.
You're
You know,
right.
and
With the
then,
dinosaur.
and then like, the second night when he comes to Oklahoma City, I mean, we had to do a routine to where we had to park that bus right by that back door, just long enough for the door to open, where their door opened. He came out, and because they told us,
Dude, I'll tell
when
you.
he does Cop Killer tonight, it's y'all's ass.
we kept seeing cops all
well,
day
no,
long.
here's what I remember talking to that again, and that's what that county sheriff, it was the Oklahoma sheriff, whoever the
Yeah.
fucking sheriff was.
The
at
county
that time.
sheriff, yeah.
Yeah, he came out there and he said, "Boys," he said, "do you know who you got here? This is a gang member you have here."
Exactly.
And I was like, "No, sir." No gang members here.
Oh, yes, he is.
And he goes, well, look, we have a reason to believe that there's going to be some serious gang violence that is going to go down here. We suspect that you guys are in danger.
It was on TV.
It was. He goes, we have put up a perimeter because we're expecting a drive-by shooting. And I was like, no, sir, I don't. I
And
said,
there'd never been a drive-by shooting in Oklahoma at that point.
No, there hadn't really, but
There-
they were on high alert. And again, we had just had them.
92.
There
We had
hadn't.
just,
I mean,
if it had, it was like
No one knew
it was
about
like a cowboy's rifle went off the back window and shot you know. But
and there were no gangs here.
there were not anything like that. If gangs at that time seriously stepped back and was what you would see in like The Outsiders. That's
Well, that's about the time that they had it with Rodney
in the
King
movie. Because it was the truly greasers.
Yeah,
and it was,
but here's the thing.
we're
Later
getting
on,
Oklahoma history.
Later
now.
on in life, when me and Kerry State and I saw him speak at the University of Oklahoma, me and him got invited. I never knew his had family ties in Oklahoma City, and you know I'm talking deep family ties.
Yeah.
And that the one kid, that Shawnee Sean kid that got his coat, he's like his cousin, you know. And
I wonder if it just chaps those guys' asses every time they watch Law and Order, and here comes Ice-T, and he's a detective or whatever.
Man, I'll tell you, when he first got on that, just knowing, because again, having some interaction with him, and I, you know, again, he and I really had a chance. We had a chance to sit down. I
went to their clubhouse.
Coco was with him. He had his little brother. If you remember Chris Jones, we sent Chris Jones. His brother was competing in a car competition,
Yes.
stereo car competition, and at that time we had Kicker and all that. So he was here at that time. Remember the Wizard Audio?
Yep.
So we drove him over there, man, and they
just so he could look.
Well, no, he bought like fucking $10,000 worth of fucking gear, which today would be
A lot.
fucking, you know, a lot. And he had this badass Cutlass that was like the one. I think it was Cutlass like in Training Day. The one that
The
Denzel,
box, the box.
that box.
That Monte Carlo.
It was a Monte Carlo. That's what
the
it was. I'm
box.
sorry, that Monte Carlo.
God, those were awesome
And
cars.
dude, it was a fucking dude. It was nice. So again, we had a real, you know, an opportunity to meet those guys, and there was a lot of bands like that, you know, like.
But you know what else? Let me say one more thing about the Ice-T thing before we move on, because you asked the question. So did we really know? So here's another thing that was going on while we were doing this Ice-T show over here at Rock City, in the adjacent parking lot. Chastain's
Had
had Toby Keith playing.
He came over that night.
To whip ass.
Do you remember that?
I
Do you remember
do.
that?
He
You
came
remember?
over that night and he said, "I got a show going on over here tonight, boys, and you're going to have to move these cars."
Toby and the old man that owned Chastain's.
David
Fred
Chastain.
Fred Cortez.
Cortez. And
Remember
if you
that?
remember, and you remember
A
who
couple
we
of
had,
games.
you remember the two boys from Midwest City?
The powerlifters, yeah, we had the powerlifters.
Twin brothers. These guys
They were
broke
brick shit
They
houses.
broke the world record at that time for their age group in powerlifting, and they were twins.
They were our security
They
guard.
never had to fight anybody because people just look at him and go,
when they would
"Oh,
look,
fuck."
and that's what happened. So Toby and this dude were standing there, and there's like this little foyer, and he's yeah. And I said, "Well, you're gonna have to talk to the twins," and they come around like they're like, "Well, man, I think it'd be, you know, if y'all could do, you know." that was
Have a good evening.